Dyson Ito is a doctor whose work mostly involves fixing mechanical parts for his semi-cyborg clients. He collects parts from some damp site and recycles what can be reused. He was collecting reusable parts one day when he came across something interesting. A person with a cyborg body who still appears to have their brain active. Ito takes the person to his hospital where he starts fixing her. She appears to be a girl and Ito gives her a complete cyborg body. When she wakes up, she is surprised and confused by her new appearance. When she goes downstairs and Ito and his nurse see her, they are fascinated. Ito gives her an orange which she eats with the peel on. He then starts questioning her about who she is, but she does not seem to remember. Ito takes her outside so that she can look around. When she sees a city in the sky, she is astonished. Ito tells her that it is called Zolam, the last remaining sky city. She asks if Ito had a name for her and Ito tells her he thinks Alita suits her. She is however not aware Alita was the name of his daughter who passed away. As they are walking around, they come across a screen displaying a violent sport called motorball. She is curious but Ito tells her not to waste her time on it. He then leaves her alone for a second to go make some purchases. While he is away, Alita spots a puppy and she starts petting it. A huge robot appears and almost crushes her, however before it can get to her, a boy manages to push her off the way. When Alita sees the puppy is still in danger, she jumps to save it, displaying some good moves. The boy introduces himself as Hugo. Hugo is surprised Alita doesn't know about Centurions, the huge robot that just passed. As they're talking, Dr. Ito appears and Hugo has to leave. He would supply Ito with parts and had come to inform him he had found what he sent him to find. However, Ito appears to not fully trust Hugo. The next day, Ito is working on a client who had been jacked and his parts stolen. The client tells Ito about a criminal who was going around killing girls and selling their parts. Ito however stops him since Alita was around. He makes her promise not to be out after dark. When Alita walks out, she meets with a woman who is fascinated by her but her stare makes Alita uncomfortable and she storms off. When the woman meets up with Dr. Ito, we learn that she was Ito's ex-wife. She was surprised since Alita's body was supposed to be their daughter's. His ex-wife called Kiran, who is also a doctor, is hell-bent on going to Zolam and had come to ask for Ito's help in something she was working on. Ito is however not interested in helping her. Alita runs into Hugo and his friends playing motorball. She asks if she can play and Hugo agrees. One of his friends plays rough on Alita and this makes her mad. She angrily gets up and in the next round gets her revenge. The player is about to foul her again when she takes him down quite easily. The person is angry and tells Hugo that her girlfriend has some serious malfunction. One night, Alita hears something while she is asleep. She gets up and sees Ito sneaking out. She starts stalking him. She sees that Ito is following a girl. He then sees him assembling some weapon he had brought along. Alita sees he is about to strike the girl and jumps right in front of him, stopping him. However, she has misjudged the situation since the girl suddenly vanishes and a huge shadow appears. Ito immediately figures out it's a trap. As it turns out, Ito was a bounty hunter, one of many who referred to themselves as hunter warriors. He was chasing after the people responsible for killing girls and selling their parts. Ito starts fighting the people who had appeared but he is no match for them. They manage to beat him. They are about to kill him when Alita intervenes. She jumps in and starts fighting the guys. The leader thinks Alita will be beaten and forces Ito to watch. However, Alita easily beats them and this angers the leader, called Gruishka. He lets Ito go and starts attacking Alita. Alita easily beats him and even manages to tear his arm off. As they are fighting, Alita remembers a bit about herself. She was on a battlefield and she was referred to as 99. Gruishka escapes, promising Alita he will be back for her. The next night, Ito checks people with bounties on them and is surprised not to find Gruishka since he had reported him. He figures he probably has powerful people protecting him. Alita asks Ito if she can be a hunter warrior like him and Ito refuses. She gets angry and runs off. She meets with Hugo and they go to watch a motorball match. As they are still watching, Hugo's friends appear and tell Hugo they had to go to work. Hugo promises to take Alita outside town the next day before leaving. One of the motorball players is leaving when he is ambushed by a group of people. He fights back but is eventually overpowered. They tie him up and start taking his parts. As they are doing this, they are approached by a man called Vector. The people take off their masks and surprisingly, it is Hugo and his friends. Vector was a person who controlled a lot of what happened around. He had hired Hugo and his friends to be jacking people's parts and giving them to him. The player they were jacking had impressive upgrades and was winning a lot, something that angered Vector since he would fix matches. He had hired Hugo and his friends to strip him of his upgrades. The next day, Hugo drives Alita out of town to show her an airship left behind by soldiers in a war that was fought over 300 years ago. When they get there, Alita surprises everyone with her knowledge about the ship. She jumps into the water the ship is in and walks to the entrance. Once in, she starts looking around. She comes across an impressive body armor. When they meet with Ito that evening, she shows him the body and asks Ito to transfer her to it. Dr. Ito does not want to, and this angers her. She has a feeling Ito knows something, but he isn't telling him. Ito opens up and tells her that she was a warrior called a berserker. The best warriors who ever existed, and that over 300 years ago, they were responsible for making all the sky cities fall, leaving only Zolam. He tells her that her past as a soldier was probably the reason why she was drawn to violence. However, Ito was not willing to put her in that body, since whatever she was is not what she is. Alita is angry with Ito and she storms off. She goes directly to register as a hunter-warrior. She then goes to a club where all the hunter-warriors would hang out. When she gets there, she is approached by a hunter-warrior called Zapan. He starts making fun of her when she shows her hunter-warrior's budge. Zapan challenges her, but everyone is surprised at how easily she beats him. In no time, Zapan is on the ground with a broken nose. Alita asks the bounty hunters to help her since Gruishka was after them and Dr. Ito. She even makes a bet that she will fight any one of them, and that if she wins, they have to join her in fighting Gruishka. Within no time, the entire club is in chaos with everybody fighting everybody. Alita fights most of the people with none of them putting up much of a fight. Dr. Ito arrives in the club and finds everything is in chaos. He tries to stop them, but they don't listen. He however shouts English or Spanish and they all stop. He continues to tell them no more free repairs if they don't stop. Suddenly, there is a huge explosion at the door and Gruishka walks in. He shows off his impressive new upgrades by striking one of the people in the club. Hugo is surprised to see they're the same upgrades they jacked from the motorball gamer and gave to Vector. Gruishka says he wants the girl, and Zapan tells him he can have her and walks away. When Ito asks the rest for help, they say they can't since there was no bounty on his head. Gruishka goes ahead and strikes down a dog, something that angers Alita. He invites Alita to some underground fight and Alita, despite Ito's warnings, follows him. Down below, a heated fight ensues between Alita and Gruishka. Alita has some great moves, but Gruishka's modifications prove difficult for her. She almost has him at one point but is unfortunately shredded to pieces. Alita is however not letting Gruishka win that easily. While he holds her head up ready to finish her off, she knocks his hand and he lets her go. She supports herself with her last remaining hand, bounces off the ground and gets him right in his eye. As he is wreathing around in pain, Ito, Hugo and one of the bounty hunters who was angry with Gruishka for not being a dog lover, arrive and start helping Alita. Gruishka has no option but to escape. When Ito gets back to his hospital, he immediately changes Alita's broken body and puts her in the berserker warrior's body. He was upset with what Gruishka did to her and claimed nobody will ever hurt her again. When Alita gets up, she shows off her impressive new body to Dr. Ito and her nurse and they are all amazed. She then goes to Hugo to show him she was okay. Hugo is pleasantly surprised when he sees her. As they talk, she tells him that with the new body she was faster and stronger. She also tells him that she is more touch-sensitive and Hugo understands the assignment and decides to test it. Later that night, Hugo goes to talk to Vector. They have a few drinks and Vector pretends to be interested in Hugo's friend, Alita. Hugo tells him everything, unaware that Vector wanted her dead and that he was the one who was sending Gruishka after her. The next time Hugo meets with Alita, he tells her that he needs just 90,000 to go to Zolam. Alita is so ready to help him that she offers her heart, literally, since it was apparently very expensive. Hugo however refuses and gives her another idea. Vector had said it was okay for Alita to play motorball and whoever won got a free pass to Zolam. Alita agrees with one condition: Hugo would be her coach. On the next motorball game, Alita is in the dressing room with Dr. Ito getting ready to go play. She calls Hugo, who is running late, to ask him where he is. Hugo tells her he will be there but he had to take care of something first. Hugo had decided he had had enough of jacking people's parts. He had gone to inform his friends and also try to stop them. They start fighting when Zapan appears. He was still angry with Alita and planned to use Hugo to get back at her. Hugo tells him he can't do that since he had no bounty on his head. Zapan kills the person Hugo's friends were jacking and tells Hugo he now was a wanted criminal. He pins him to the wall and is about to kill him when his friend intervenes. While Zapan is distracted, Hugo starts running for his life. Back at the motorball arena, Vector calls all the players and tells them that he was willing to give $500,000 to the player who would kill Alita. As the players are getting ready to start, Ito notices something is wrong. All the other players were either bounty hunters or had bounties on their heads. Ito calls Alita immediately and tries to warn her to get out of there. She tells her it's a setup and that all the other players wanted to kill her. Immediately the game begins, things get violent. All the other players are determined to get Alita, but she doesn't make it easy for them. She manages to avoid and fight them off. As she is still going, Hugo calls her and tells her that Zapan wanted to kill him. He was hot on his heels and he had already killed one of his friends. He tells her that he is headed to some old church and Alita tells him she is on her way. She bursts through a screen out of the arena and the bounty hunters, determined to kill her, follow her. Her speed and agility however make it impossible for them. She catches up to Zapan just in time. He stops him and quickly checks on Hugo. She however notices his wanted poster behind him and is confused and upset. She asks Hugo to explain himself. Hugo tells her that they only jack parts. They would paralyze their victims before they start and their victims did not feel a thing. Before he could finish explaining himself, Zapan stabs him. A centurion appears and Alita takes Hugo and rushes into the old church to hide. She asks him where he was that night and Hugo tells her he had gone to tell the others he quit. This is because he had fallen in love with Alita. All the while, Kieran can be seen watching them. She had been sent by Vector to find them but had a change of heart. She approaches them and finds Alita heartbroken. Hugo was about to die and she could not do anything about it. She tells Kieran she could give him her heart if it were possible. Alita walks out to find Zapan waiting for her. He informs her that harboring a fugitive is a crime. However, Alita opens her coat showing Hugo's head to the centurion, which scans it and confirms Hugo is dead. Apparently, Kieran helped Alita connect herself to Hugo. Zapan notices this and tries to take him from her. However, the centurion sees this as trying to steal another bounty hunter's kill. This gave Alita permission to kill him and she slices his face off. Alita takes Hugo to Dr. Ito and he manages to give him a new cyborg body and save his life. He then tells Alita that Vector was running a scum. You cannot buy your way to Zolom. Only winning Motorball could get you there. Ito tells her that he knows this since he was born in Zolom and was exiled below by the man in charge called Nova. This infuriates Alita. She walks to Vector's office ready to kill him. Vector is terrified on seeing Alita dropping from his roof. He however tells her that he always keeps his promise of taking people to Zolom. He opens a box showing human parts which he claims belong to Kieran, the only way anyone can get to Zolom. Gruishka appears out of nowhere and starts attacking Alita. Alita however seems to be more comfortable in her warrior body. Gruishka is no match for her and in no time, she has beaten him before splitting him in half. She then goes to demand to talk to Nova. Apparently, Nova could take control of people with special implants for a while. She wanted Nova to appear in Vector's body. When he appears, Alita tells her that she is coming for him. She then proceeds to stab Nova and he starts collapsing to his death. As she is watching the life fade from his eyes, she receives a call from Ito. Authorities had figured out Hugo is alive and had put a bounty on his head. He was going to Zolom and Alita knew exactly where to find him. When she catches up to him, she tries to convince him to come back. Hugo claims he doesn't see the point in living as a fugitive and that they belong up there. However, Alita tells him they don't belong anywhere except together and that they will even be fugitives together. She manages to convince him and he agrees. Just as he is about to turn around, some sort of defense ring appears and starts dropping. Hugo tries to jump but it slashes him to pieces. Alita tries to save him but his arm is too damaged to hold his weight. It snaps and he falls vanishing into the clouds below. Several months pass and we see Alita preparing for a motorball match. She had made her way to the final. Before the match begins, Alita lifts her sword pointing at Zolom, making it clear she intends on getting there. Nova, who was watching at the moment, smiles, an indication he had accepted the challenge. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, comment and subscribe. Thanks.